I am doing a full deep dive into the secret lives of Mormon wives as both a Mormon and a matchmaker. So I work for an agency called Macklin. We are a high profile agency, and I work with singles who are celebrity CEOs, founders, blah, blah, blah. And I have been avoiding this show because as an active practicing Mormon, I feel like a lot of the media that we get is very negative. So I just didn't want to expose myself to that. But the truth is that these girls are a sensation. So I am going to be breaking down just both my cultural and professional take on these girls. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So first things first, I feel like these girls really took off because of the whole swinging scandal. And if you don't know, so these girls did what's called soft swinging, at least that's what they say. And soft swinging is being intimate with people who you're not married to, who are married to other people, but not having actual penis vagina sex, but everything else. They talk about this a little bit in the first episode, but I know that a lot of people are like, I don't know what soft swinging is. But basically, that's kind of a cultural thing. A lot of the LDS church advocates for abstaining from sex before marriage. That is something that I did. And a lot of people like to try to find ways around that, whether they're married or single. So that's actually not uncommon. I actually saw it a lot when I was dating in Utah. The other thing that I think is interesting about these girls is that a lot of them got married really young, which again is a cultural thing. Yes, the church itself doesn't advocate for getting married at 18. That is very much a culture thing. I did not. I got married when I was 28. But that is quite common that in Utah, singles get married very young and they have kids right away. And I myself have actually talked about how I think this is problematic. As a professional, I think that getting married before you're 25 is all kinds of problematic for many reasons, but not the least of all that your prefrontal cortex has not fully developed. You are making a huge decision that I think is better to maybe wait a little bit. The other thing that I think is interesting about these girls that I didn't really expect is that because this show is kind of promoted as these swinging Mormons, that's actually a big reason why I didn't want to watch it, because I just don't have a lot of interest in that. However, what I'm surprised about, I'm only 4 episodes in, but what I'm surprised about so far is that half of the girls are actually very actively practicing LDS. That kind of conflict and tension between the girls because of that. So that was something that I saw quite a lot. I moved to Utah when I was 18. I grew up in Colorado, and in Colorado it was crazy because everyone kind of viewed me as this super goody two-shoes girl because I was the only Mormon in there were a few of us, but not very many in my hometown. And then when I moved to Utah, I was actually labeled as very rebellious. And I don't personally think that I'm either or. I think that I'm very much I take a lot of thought into what I believe and what I practice. And there are things that I'm that doesn't really make sense to me. There are things that I'm that doesn't make sense to me, but I will honor it. And then there are things that are I actually am quite strict about that. And that's common. I think a lot of church members, especially in 2026, are taking it upon themselves to rest on their own laurels, to discover what being a church member really means to them. It looks quite different, varying from person to person. So far there are girls like Layla that I'm really not surprised that you got divorced. You got married so young. I just don't think that it's very common anymore for women who get married at 18 to stay married. Taylor Frankie Paul, absolutely not a surprise that she got divorced. I'm sorry, but if you cheat on your husband, then you're not going to stay married to your husband, even if you agree on it. Now I'm going to be honest. The other girls, I have a really hard time telling them apart. So I'm going to watch a couple more episodes and then report back with another video. So if you like The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, if you are interested in hearing takes from a professional matchmaker, If you enjoy the series, then give me a follow because more are coming.